Several hundred pro-lifers rallied in the rain yesterday in the capital of Virginia at the state's second annual March for Life in Richmond. Speakers encouraged people to be more active in the fight for the unborn. The rally goers are also hoping to push back against the Democrat-controlled State House, which has passed bills to strengthen abortion. Virginia's Governor Ralph Northam says that he supports the measures. Joining us now is Amy McInerny, Director of Respect Life for the Catholic Diocese of Arlington. Amy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's just a joy to be with you.
Oh, we love that you're here. So yesterday was a damp day out there, but the rain didn't seem to, keep people away.
It didn't. It did not dampen the spirits and the enthusiasm of the thousands of pro-life Catholics and other Virginians of goodwill who came out and rallied in peaceful, prayerful protest at the Capitol in Richmond.
How much was the event tied to Virginia's recent attempts to pass the pro-abortion legislation?
Well, it was very closely tied. As I know you've reported, on January 29th, after some very disturbing legislation began to move its way through our General Assembly, the bishops of Virginia called on Catholics to step into the public square. And in fact, we did that literally yesterday, thousands of us, and the raindrops did not dampen our spirits.
Great. Can you talk a little bit about those measures for those who may not be familiar with them?
Absolutely. This is an attempt to strip Virginia law of protections that have been in place for decades, saving lives. Protections that really help unborn children and their mothers, common sense health and safety regulations. So, for example, 24-hour waiting period from the time you first encounter the abortion provider to the time that the abortion is procured. The provision that abortions should be performed by a physician, and also the ultrasound requirement that a woman be able to see her unborn child before she makes an irreversible decision. And so now we have bills moving through our General Assembly which are poised to strip these protections away from Virginia's unborn children and women. And so we needed to raise our voices.
So what are people saying? I'm sure you heard a lot of people talking about it, especially yesterday. What are they saying about those measures?
Well, it's interesting. As recently as January 2020, last month, the Kaiser Family Foundation released a poll that indicates that 69% of Americans, of the general population, are in favor of laws that require abortion to be performed by a physician with admitting privileges to a hospital. Common sense. 67% are in favor of that 24-hour waiting period. And upwards of 57% believe that having a physician describe and show an ultrasound to an expectant mother before an abortion is a reasonable law. So in spite of the general will of the people, and certainly the will of the people of Virginia, our General Assembly is moving forward with a very pro-abortion agenda.
What are people saying? Are they being discouraged by this, that this is happening in Virginia, that these things they're trying to push these measures forward?
Well, it is very serious, and we do understand the stakes, Tracy, of course. But, the mood at the march yesterday was really joyful, not because it isn't a challenging time for us, but because we answered the bishop's call to bring Christ to the culture. And what a privileged place we stand in when we shine his light on this darkness. How could we help but be joyful when entrusted with this mandate to shine his light into some very confused times?
What can people do if they want to help out?
Well, that's a great question, because the reality is we can't all get to Richmond to march or to testify, but we all can and must do something. So the first step is to stay engaged. And I understand people don't always enjoy politics, but really we have to answer our baptismal call. We are not baptized into the Father, the Son, and a particular party, right? We're not a political party, we're the church. And so we go forward proclaiming the gospel of life to both sides of the aisle. And we do that by, if you're in Virginia, perhaps following the Virginia Catholic Conference. We have a network at vacatholic.org that will send you updates. And from the comfort of your living room, you can click and send a message. And that's important, to stay engaged and not to go back to sleep. It's often said, but it's often said because it's true, that all that is required for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. And so we don't want to do nothing. And we can all call our members. We can keep an eye out for when they're home in our districts and go to those meetings and raise our voices for those who cannot speak for themselves. And I think even the homebound and the sick, perhaps especially the homebound and the sick, can join this effort by offering their sufferings prayerfully to get this demon out of our state.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for being on and sharing your insight and telling us a little bit more about what happened yesterday
Thank you for
in
the
Richmond.
opportunity.
We appreciate it. Thanks so much. Amy McInerny, Director of Respect Life for the Catholic Diocese of Arlington. Thank you again.